winners and losers of the 2022 NFL Draft through the first, second, third, and about 25% of the fourth round so far.
Yes.
We uploaded our NFL Draft first round live reactions on last Friday, so check that out. It was an absolute banger. Y'all don't want to miss it. Earlier in the week on Monday, or on Sunday, on Sunday we uploaded our, what did we upload? Our first through our NFL Draft 2022 for NFL Draft first through third round grades per team. A lot of winners, only a few losers, but the real losers were bad. We gave you guys our thoughts, so be sure to check that out. And today we are bringing you guys our NFL Draft winners and losers. So with no further ado, who is our biggest winners of the draft?
We'll start off with the teams. We'll go two winner teams and two loser teams. We'll start off like that. I'll start off with my winners, and that is the Baltimore Ravens. I think they personally had the best draft in terms of all that they accomplished. They got rid of Marquise Hollywood-Brown, which sucks because they do need a receiver now. But the value that they got for him, round 1, pick 25, that's amazing value. So following up in the draft, they got Kyle Hamilton, stud, a little slow, but I think John Harbaugh can make it work. They got Tyler Linderbaum, who is a stud center, could be like Creed Humphrey. They got David Ojabo, who's a top 15, top 20 player. Just injury concern, so if he comes back healthy, that's a stud. Travis Jones, which is a John Harbaugh pick.
Yep.
He is a defensive tackle. He is a man. He is a stud. He will be great next to Michael Pierce. They also got Daniel Falele, offensive tackle. So they've really helped out the offensive line because they arguably kind of needed it. I know they brought in Morgan Moses. They have Stanley. Now you have Tyler Linderbaum, Falele.
I mean, Daniel Falele sitting behind Morgan Moses for a year wouldn't be the worst thing either for his development. I mean, he's still a little raw. He sits behind Morgan Moses for a year, who you only have for a year. Then he comes in and plays right tackle perfect. He's about as big as Orlando Brown was.
Yeah.
So I mean, if he can pan out and even be an average starter, I mean, that's a win right there. The Ravens definitely won the draft. Made some moves. They missed out on Jordan Davis, but got Travis Jones in, the third round was he?
Yes.
So that wasn't bad, and they got the best center prospect overall we've seen in a long time. So the Ravens are definitely winners, but my biggest winners, though, the New York Jets. On the Jets' big board, they got 3 of their top 8 best players in the draft, in Jermaine Johnson, Sauce Gardner, and Garrett Wilson. So that's 3 of their best 8 players to them. They got Jeremy Ruckert, who's my tight end 1, who's probably going to see some big playing time. He was Justin Field and C.J. Stroud's safety red zone target blanket at Ohio State. He's played with good quarterbacks. That's perfect for Zach Wilson in a pretty average tight end room with Tyler Conklin and Uzama. So there ain't really much competition. They also drafted Breece Hall. I mean, I know they could have probably gone a couple other ways than running back, but you look at it like this. Michael Carter was a stud pick in the 3rd or 4th round last year. When Michael Carter went down, they made Ty Johnson look good. Yeah. They ran, even when Michael Carter came back, they had a 2 running back system going with them. They were both fantasy studs. They were both playing pretty good, and the Jets were able to develop a run game. So you get Breece Hall, who's running back 1 in the draft to most people, and Mike Carter going in an offense with a revamped offensive line with Zach Wilson, a second-year quarterback, that makes his job easier. You have Garrett Wilson on the edge. Zach Wilson is also a huge winner of this draft. But, I mean, if look at it like this. I said this on the podcast on Sunday. They got corner 1, receiver 1, edge 3, tight end 1, and running back 1 with their first 5 picks. That's a win. And if that's saying if they all pan out, they're all going into a good situation, though, a very well-coached team, a fairly new rebuilding team. So, I mean, it's a great situation for the Jets, and I think the Jets have done the whole rebuild with Robert Saleh and Zach Wilson thing so far. Now the biggest question for the Jets is Zach Wilson your guy or not?
Yeah, to help out Zach Wilson, they brought in Garrett Wilson, they brought in Breece Hall, they brought in Jeremy Ruckert, and they brought in Max Mitchell. Those are 4 guys that are going to help out the offense. They also just drafted Michael Clemens, defensive end out of Texas A&M. They're drafting good players from good schools. They're definitely winners. So we'll jump to the 2 loser teams real quick.
Or did you didn't want to go all winners, all losers?
We'll just do 2 winner teams and then 2 loser teams.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I'll lead it. We'll make it work. Who do I want? I'll take the Packers. I'll let you have Washington.
Thank you.
Since you're more of a Washington fan than I am.
That's
the
fair.
Green Bay Packers, they suck.
Just give them the rundown.
They drafted the 2 worst players on the Georgia defense.
They
in the
drafted
first
the
round.
second best D tackle and the second best linebacker.
I don't even know how that's possible. I'm trying
They
to
drafted a
flip
North Dakota State wide receiver.
Yeah.
And what's his name? Sean Ryan wasn't a good
Sean Ryan was their best pick. Drafting a North Dakota State wide receiver round 2 pick 2 is absolutely stupid. I don't know why you would do that. when George Pickens is literally there for the taking.
Oh my God.
You drafted, I mean, there was literally so many better players at Georgia that you could have taken. I mean, Trayvon Walker from Georgia, Jordan Davis from Georgia, Nakobe Dean from Georgia,
Channing Tindall, Dolphins pick from Georgia.
Lewis Seen from Georgia.
Yeah.
Those are 4 better players from Georgia. And they got Quay Walker, Devontae Wyatt.
Listen, Packers
The two
got Packers, bro.
worst players from Georgia.
After just paying Devondre Campbell and Kenny Clark is also making stupid money.
And they have no receivers. And they lost MVS.
Listen.
And Devontae Adams.
Christian Watson is MVS. A little bit taller.
Oh, great. So
Yeah.
who's Devontae Adams?
Alan Lazard and Randall Cobb, but they're fine. And they have A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
Would you just relax?
They need another quarterback to replace Jordan Love.
I was laughing at the thought of them drafting Malik Willis or Matt Corral, just to say fuck you. And
That would have been
just
great.
do it.
I would have
been
loved
pretty
that.
Good. My losers, the Washington football team. Can you pull them up real quick so my laptop doesn't explode from too much work? Okay, so they reached on Jahan Dotson at 16, right? You drafted your Matt Ioannidis, your third-string D-tackle replacement, when you already have Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne. Then you drafted your third-string running back after taking Zach Moss, after begging him to stay after signing with the Bills, and you have Antonio Gibson.
J.D. McKissick, not Zach Moss.
I meant Zach.
And they drafted Mathis instead of Matt Ioannidis.
Yes.
You're rambling here.
Okay, so look at this. Matt Ioannidis left in free agency.
Yes.
That's your third-string D-tackle. So
Yes.
what better way in the second round when you have so many more pressing needs, corner, safety, which they addressed in the fourth. So you draft your third-string defensive tackle on a defensive line that you already have Chase Young, Montez Sweat,
But he's from Bama.
Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen. And then J.D. McKissick signs to Buffalo in free agency. You beg him to come back, give him a 2-year deal, and then you draft your third-string running back in the third round. When you have other pressing needs, such as corner, safety, linebacker,
Quarterback.
offensive line, quarterback. I don't know what Washington's doing here. Antonio Gibson is probably the biggest loser out of all this, and his fantasy value. If you invested in him in a dynasty league, I am sorry. I mean, the J.D. McKissick thing is already one thing, them keeping him back.
I hate that man.
But drafting Brian Robinson, who they were literally saying Brian Robinson is Antonio Gibson, they do all the same things.
Sure.
That's not good for Antonio Gibson himself or his fantasy value. So with that being said, the Washington football team had the worst draft so far, and we're 4 rounds in. We're 3.5 rounds in. Vikings took another corner. Ain't bad. Adam Mizzou. So that's easy.
That's nice.
But yeah, the Washington football team and Antonio Gibson are 2 major losers of this NFL draft.
Next up, let's talk about Kenny Smallhands. Let's talk about Kenny Smallhands Pickett. Let's talk about how he is a winner. He is the top quarterback taken at number 20 to the Pittsburgh Steelers, a Steelers team that has historically been one of the best, if not the best, dynasties in football.
Yeah.
Since the dawn of time, they have always been a good football team. They have had a positive record the last 20 years or so. They have been second to these guys the past 20 years, arguably. And, back in the day, the 70s, they were killers too. Mm-hmm. They have always been a winning franchise, so that is one plus. Second plus, you have Mike Tomlin, who's one of the best coaches in football.
Yes.
He is easily top 10, and that's not saying anything at all.
I think you could argue
probably
him
top 5.
Top 5, definitely. I mean, no order, top 5. Mike Tomlin, Andy Reid, Belichick, Sean McVay is top 4. Just depends on the order you put him in.
And Mike Tomlin could even be over Sean McVay also.
Yeah,
But
and then, dare I throw Kyle Shanahan in there?
He's not touching Mike Tomlin. So, Mike Tomlin is easily a
Mike
top
Tomlin's
5 coach. And then he's coming into arguably a top 10 offense in terms of situation because they have helped him out tremendously. The offensive line is still a little bit touchy, so, don't get me wrong. But they have Najee Harris there. They have Deontay Johnson there, who is a top 20 receiver, and I ain't saying anything at all either. They have Chase Claypool there. They have Pat Freiermuth there.
George Pickens they just drafted too.
George Pickens. I mean, it is a great situation. You have a great defense. You stayed at home. You're from Pittsburgh. At least you went to college in Pittsburgh. I'm not sure if he's from Pittsburgh. But you went to college in Pittsburgh, so you're not moving far. You are staying right in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
The people love you. You were the top pick. You got your money. You're in a great situation. You are probably the biggest winner in terms of player. that we could pick.
And he's in a quarterback room with Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, great.
Mitch Trubisky isn't a bad quarterback. I don't know why that narrative started. No. He took Matt Nagy and the Bears to the playoffs 2 out of his, maybe even 3 out of his 4 years in Chicago. And he took the brunt of Matt Nagy just being a shit coach. He'll get to learn from Mitch Trubisky. The Steelers have no money invested in Trubisky at all. What, $7 million a year, maybe 10.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, they don't have, maybe even, I don't know what his contract was. Don't quote me. They don't have a lot of money invested in Trubisky. Even if Kenny Pickett doesn't come in and start day one, it's fine. The Steelers
works out for Kenny Pickett.
They have a good situation. They have a good quarterback room in Kenny Pickett and Trubisky. Now, I will say though, a loser is probably Chase Claypool. Because if you really look at it, George Pickens is probably Chase Claypool.
You need 3 receivers on the field, though.
Yeah.
And there's nobody touching Claypool in terms
of... But nah, I mean, that's just could be a small knock to Claypool. But now the Steelers and Kenny Pickett are definitely also major winners of this draft. In terms of losers, who do we got next?
Probably take top quarterback there.
Ryan Tannehill.
I'll let you have him.
Guy sucks. We saw him fold like a lawn chair in the playoffs against the Bengals. Defense got him 11 sacks, and he still couldn't get the job done. They drafted his replacement in Malik Willis. Thank God. Malik Willis, he probably won't start this year, which is fine. After this year, Ryan Tannehill has the biggest cap hit of any quarterback this year, and that's with Jared Goff and Matt Ryan's contracts, who are still on the books for their old teams. Ryan Tannehill is Kirk Cousins, Tony Romo, Philip Rivers, all them guys. He's an average, below average quarterback. He hasn't done anything special. You get Malik Willis, who's a much more dynamic quarterback. You have a solid team around him. You just drafted Burks. You helped out the O-line. You have Derrick Henry, who knows how much his shelf life he has left because we all know how running backs are in this day and age. You have a great coach and you have a solid defense. Malik Willis is going into a great situation, and Ryan Tannehill probably will get cut after this year. So Malik Willis, winner. Ryan Tannehill, big loser, rightfully so.
Yeah, the Titans were kind of forced their hand. Malik Willis fell, and you weren't just going to let that guy sit there. You had to go up there and get him. Ryan Tannehill has proven that he probably ain't going to win a Super Bowl. I've compared him to Jimmy G. I think he's still Jimmy G. I think he's better than Kirk Cousins slightly, and I think he's right in that Jimmy G tier. Jimmy G is only going to win a Super Bowl with a great, fantastic football team. Ryan Tannehill is only going to win a Super Bowl with a great, fantastic football team. It is hard to assemble those football teams, and when Malik Willis is there in the third, I feel like you have to go out there and get him. Yeah. There is absolutely no risk to this at all. He's a third-round pick. If you spend a third-round pick on a quarterback, it doesn't work, oh well, so be it. You tried, because this dude was mocked in the first from most people. Ryan Tannehill, it lights a fire under him to hopefully do better. I don't think last year was Ryan Tannehill's fault personally. I don't think it was. The team wasn't good at all, and they were just horrible. They brought in Julio Jones, which is stupid. This year probably ain't gonna be his fault either because he still has nobody to throw the ball to. But it's whatever. It's probably gonna be Malik Willis' job unless he can make it work with Robert Woods, who was never that good. But
that's fair.
Whatever. Malik Willis will probably end up starting. Ryan Tannehill is still a loser. And jumping to a next winner.
Very surprising coming from Ryan and I.
Yeah, the Philadelphia Eagles.
But you got to give credit where credit's due,
They acquired A.J. Brown, who is a stud receiver. There's nothing doubting that. Which also translates into Jalen Hurts being a stud quarterback, potentially, especially in fantasy. I would be drafting Jalen Hurts kind of, not high, but I would be definitely looking into him.
Absolutely.
And Howie Roseman, he made a move, so props to him for that. The Eagles, they had a pretty decent draft with Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean. They drafted a guard out in Nebraska. People aren't real happy with that, or center. If Kelsey is done, so it's going to fill that. He might not even start this first year, but it's fine.
They drafted him to sit behind Jason Kelsey for a year. Jason Kelsey picked him out of all the interior offensive linemen that were available and said, "This is the guy who I think is like me, and I think will be the best replacement for you guys."
Yeah. So the Eagles, I think that they did pretty good. Bringing in A.J. Brown and gets him a wide receiver 1 because I don't think they probably had that with Devontae Smith. He was probably just a wide receiver 2. If we're being honest, I don't love his ceiling. But A.J. Brown is their wide receiver 1.
This is the guy the Patriots just drafted.
Jack Jones out of Arizona State.
His draft projection. Round 7 priority free agent.
That's real nice. It's our guy.
5'11", 170. Fits the Patriots build.
Eagles are winners. Jalen Hurts is a winner.
Absolutely.
They're no longer just a straight running football team, which they shouldn't have been because Miles Sanders sucks.
And their offensive line's not good either.
But now they have a deep threat. Now they have A.J. Brown, who is a little injury concerns have.
Yeah.
He's played a lot of football games. He's only missed like 2-3 games a year. But it's a nagging injury with his knees, it seems like. But he's still putting up 1,000 yards. So, props to the Eagles. They still did good.
Howie Roseman did good, too. I mean, they got Nakobe Dean in the third, which is amazing value. I saw a meme. It was Thanos sitting back after he defeated all the Avengers. And it was just like Howie Roseman if Nakobe Dean ends up panning out. Like, just sitting back, and he did the right thing.
Yeah.
Eagles fans were on Twitter apologizing to Howie Roseman. I thought it was the funniest thing. I'm sorry for ever doubting you. Like, they traded up and got Howie Roseman got his boy in Jordan Davis. That's a Howie Roseman pick. You traded a first and $56 guaranteed $1 million out of $100 for A.J. Brown. You got Nakobe Dean in the third. You got your Jason Kelce replacement. Like I said, if the Eagles do this year and next year in the draft with all their assets, the Eagles could be competitive. They're off to a good start in terms of getting back to trying to compete for a division title with Dallas. So, I mean, the Eagles, they did it right so far, and props to the Eagles, props to Howie for proving every football Eagles fan wrong, and good for Jalen Hurts, because Jalen Hurts is on a prove-it year as well. The Eagles got that second first-round pick next year with insurance, so, I mean, Jalen Hurts, this is his prove-it year. What better way than bringing in another offensive lineman, bringing in a stud receiver for him, and trying to build around him a little bit. So.
And once again, we said, how do you figure out if a quarterback's good? You put him in the best situation to win, and the Eagles are doing that, so props to them for that.
You know who's not doing that?
I don't know. Who?
The Chicago Bears with Justin Fields.
Fair.
I mean, like we've said, we said it on Sunday's video, and we've said it all throughout our draft content process. When you have a rookie or second-year quarterback, even a third-year quarterback in some instances, you need to put them in the best situation to try and win to see if they're the real deal or not. Just take the Jets. Jets did the rebuild thing right. They got Zach Wilson. They revamped his O-line. They bought him in their top receiver. They revamped the offensive line. They have a great defense, a great head coach. Look at what the Bengals did for Joe Burrow. They drafted him a stud receiver. They revamped the offensive line this year. Look at what the Chargers did for Justin Herbert. Bought in Corey Linsley, drafted Slater. All these guys, look what all these teams have done with second, third rookie quarterbacks. Put them in good situations. Like Kenny Pickett is in a great situation. You got a guy like Justin Fields, who's second year, who already has some injury concerns dating back to college and the NFL. You lose your best offensive lineman to the Steelers. You lose your best wide receiver in free agency, which was a long time coming. You have Tevin Jenkins, who you drafted in the second round, who didn't play much, if at all, last year. You have David Montgomery, who's a good running back, and yes, you drafted a receiver in the third round, who probably will end up being okay for them, being a serviceable option. But you can't afford. If you're a team with a young quarterback, you have to suck it up and have a shitty defense for a year or two while you build around the offense, and it's fine. I mean, you can't afford to go out and draft a safety and who did you have? A safety and a corner with your first two picks when you don't have a first round pick. When you have every single hole to fill on the offensive line, yes. And when your starting receiver is Darnell Mooney, and Equinemi is St. Brown and Byron Pringle.
Your alpha wide receiver one is Darnell Mooney, who was he a 6th-round pick or 3rd-round pick?
He was a late round. He was mid-late.
Out of Tulane. So there's absolutely no capital on this offense. The only capital on his offense is the quarterback, which is the most important position, and they're not helping him whatsoever.
They're not doing him any justice.
Nope. Anyways, next up, I'll take this winner, Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray, Marquise Brown, they are reunited in Arizona. Lamar Jackson was very upset about this. He loves Marquise Brown, and he was very upset that he got traded. Kyler Murray is a stud, though. He got his tight end. What was his name again for tight end?
Oh, Trey McBride out of Colorado State.
Got Trey McBride. Got Zach Ertz. They got DeAndre Hopkins. They got Marquise Brown. They have Rondale Moore. The team is definitely... Hollywood Brown is definitely way better than Christian Kirk. There is absolutely no debate there. I will die on that hill. Kyler Murray got his guy from college. Hopefully he stays in Arizona. It seems like he wants to stay in Arizona now. So Kyler Murray is definitely a winner. I don't know if the Cardinals arguably gave up a little bit too much. They did get a third back in return, so we'll see what they spin out of it.
He was a first-round receiver. So if you value him, Hollywood Brown is the 23rd pick. Okay, plus you get a third-round pick, which is solid value. So, I mean...
They could have done better, I think, and they also could have done worse, if that makes sense. But I think Kyler Murray is a by far definite winner.
Absolutely. Another team where the quarterback has gotten a little bit better every year in terms of situation, and he's another guy who's potentially on the hot seat this year with Cliff Kingsbury. So they went out and they're doing their thing. So Kyler Murray's definitely a winner. Real quick before we get into the final quarterback winners and losers, another loser, Rashad Penny and Chris Carson, because the Seattle Seahawks, who were in a rebuild, just needed to draft Kenneth Walker in the second round.
Also Michael Carter.
Yeah, Michael Carter's also a loser. But the Seahawks, another team that had a very bad draft. Kenneth Walker.
So bad. So bad.
They did so good. They got Charles Cross.
It was great. It was perfect.
They got Charles, cornerstone piece to a rebuilding team.
Yes.
They got Kobe Bryant in the fourth, which is great value. He's arguably a top 5 corner in the draft. Kenneth Walker brings it down so much. You took Rashad Penny in the first round, 3 years ago?
Completely tanks it all.
Paid him, and you paid Chris Carson last year, which was already, why pay him if you drafted Rashad Penny in the first round?
Yeah.
Now you drafted another running back in the top 2 rounds when you're a rebuilding team and you probably ain't going to use a 3 running back system with DK Metcalf, Noah Fant, Tyler Lockett.
No. Nobody uses 3 running back systems in 2022.
No. I mean, unless they're banking on Chris Carson and Rashad Penny to get hurt.
You telling me they're going to go wishbone?
Which wing T, just kicking it old school, quarterback, fullback, 2 running backs under center. They don't have a good enough offensive line.
They're going to do triple options.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Drew
Luck.
In trends show Chris Carson and Rashad Penny will battle injuries. So if that's what you're banking on, sure, but that's terrible.
That's stupid.
Seahawks started off so good with Charles Cross, but like we always say, Seahawks going to Seahawk.
Yeah.
Our final winners and losers,
Daniel
perhaps
Dimes.
the biggest. Daniel Jones.
He kept his job. But
which isn't one thing.
He is running out of time because they did not pick up his option. They got him an offensive tackle in Evan Neal. But then he lost Kadarius Toney, but they fixed that. But he's not going to be as good as Kadarius Toney because that's kind of hard to find.
They've invested. They drafted him another tight end. The Giants just drafted.
But they also lost Evan Ingram, so
yeah. But really, what was Evan Ingram doing besides dropping the ball and having one big game a year?
It's fair. Daniel Jones, he might be in the same situation as last year. He really needs to step it up because the time is running out. The time is out. You have 1 year.
They tried to go all in on Mitch Trubisky and bring him in to be their starter and to give Daniel Jones a run for his money.
And if you don't make the playoffs, you're probably going.
Yeah. I mean, they got Evan Neal, their right tackle. They have 2 of the 3 best offensive tackles to come out of the SEC since 2020. So they've gotten 2 of the arguably the best offensive tackles to come out in the last 3 years. The Raiders just drafted a running back.
Let's pay Kenyon Drake a shit ton of money.
Kenyon Drake $7 million a year. Not pick up Josh Jacobs' option and draft a running back.
Yeah.
They didn't pick up any options, though. They didn't pick up Cleveland Farrell, obviously, Josh Jacobs, or John Abram.
Oh my God, they're so bad. I hate them.
But
I hate the Raiders.
No, Daniel Jones. They have offensive tackles. They drafted another interior offensive lineman in the 3rd round to plug in and play for Will Hernandez and Kevin Zeiler, the other offensive lineman you lost. They got you your Kadarius Toney replacement if they trade him or if they keep him. Who knows? They still have Kenny Galladay. Do they have Shepard and Still, or is he a free agent?
Kenny Stills?
No, they have 2 receivers, Sterling Shepard and the Darius Slayton.
Yeah. So Shepard's still there, I believe.
Yeah. So, I mean, they revamped the offensive line for him. Saquon should be healthy this year. They have Gary Brightwell.
Sorry.
Gary Brightwell. See you soon, bro. And, yeah, so the Daniel Jones definitely, he's not as big of a winner, but, I mean, he kept his job. And the Chargers just drafted a running back, too. Isaiah Spiller.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, they don't really have a backup besides Eckler.
They have Justin Jackson.
Who?
Justin Jackson.
Pretty sure it's Joshua Kelly.
Justin Jackson.
I don't know. They have
You're
too many.
You're not familiar with Justin Jackson?
They have too many bum running backs. And the biggest loser of all of this.
Baker Mayfield.
Our
Didn't
boy.
get traded.
Sounds like it's Seattle or free agency.
If it's free agency, I thought Steelers were going to pick him up.
Not
I think
anymore.
that ship has sailed.
Yeah.
It could be the Giants. Oh, God.
Poor Baker. God damn. Giants, Seattle. Minnesota, Washington. I mean,
that's 2 NFC East teams. It blows.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay.
Let him sit behind God Brady for a year. Two of my favorite players and one quarterback room. I fucking love it. But yeah, Baker lost. They were trying. Cleveland said they're willing to pay part of Baker's salary to try and move him.
Cleveland sucks.
Which is what they're going to have to do, even though Cleveland just drafted our boy Perrion.
They still suck.
But Baker's definitely a loser. It sounds like they were trying to work out a trade with the Panthers all night until Carolina just said, forget this. Traded up for Matt Corral and back into the third round for Matt Corral. So in doing so, they gave up a third-round pick next year. So that was kind of stupid.
They gave up a third to get a third?
They gave up a third next year to trade back up into the third this year.
I mean, it's just how it works. It's more valuable now than it is next year.
Yeah.
Because you have it now, in theory.
Any other major winners, losers?
I don't think so.
Probably the Raiders now that they just drafted their third-string running back.
Yeah, just now they have Cade York. Kicker.
And Cleveland just drafted a kicker.
Holy shit. Cleveland sucks. The only kicker punter that should be drafted is the dude from Arizona
Matt
State.
Ariza.
Because that dude is a
He's from
monster.
San Diego State, not Arizona State.
It is San Diego. It's one of the states over there. Because that dude is actually a stud.
Yeah.
But Cade York, come on,
Kicker.
stop it.
SEC kicker.
Now I would get Dicker the kicker. Or is he in the NFL already? Cameron Dicker.
Oh my God.
I can say that. It's his last name.
Is there anything else you want to touch on?
As soon as I find out where Cameron Dicker is. Oh, he's a Longhorn still.
Fuck that guy.
Draft profile. He is coming out.
Hmm.
He's going to be a Cowboy.
Sounds about right that he's coming out if he went to Texas.
Yeah.
Tell you what.
I think that's it.
Yeah, is there any other big winners or losers that we talked about that didn't make the list?
Cowboys will be one when we get Smoke Monday here soon.
Tell you what, have a nice jersey that says Monday on the back of it. I'll tell you, what's your least favorite day of the week? Monday. No, but I think that's going to wrap this one up, along with all of our NFL draft content for 2022, I think.
Probably. We might do like a off-season winners, losers maybe in the future.
Yeah. We have a bunch of versatile content.
After the Honey Badger is a Cowboy.
Yeah.
With Smoke.
Yeah. NBA content coming to an end as well. We got our off-season content.
Miami got another
football
receiver. Jesus.
Starting up in a couple months. Thank you guys for watching and listening, and we will see you guys at the beginning of next week with we don't know what yet.
This guy better at least be tall. 6'2".
We will see you guys next week.
Later.
Peace.